Hello everyone and welcome back to Learn Arabic. This is the fourth lesson of our Introduction to Verbs series, and as indicated on the title, it is all about the infinitive form and al-masdar. And I have a special request to make here. Please do not confuse the infinitive form with al-masdar. I cannot stress this enough. This lesson was supposed to be about the infinitive form solely, but since these two are oftentimes confused, I wanted to set the record straight from the get-go. With that in mind, let's begin, shall we? Starting with the infinitive form, from an English speaker's perspective, the infinitive form of a verb is the verb in its basic form. It's the version of the verb that appears in the dictionary. And it is a non-finite verb. In other words, it cannot be the main verb in a sentence. Also, a non-finite verb can be used as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb in English. And that's also a crucial point to highlight, as it will serve as a comparison point between English and Arabic later on. Another important thing to highlight, and which will also help us in our comparison, is that the infinitive form of a verb is usually preceded by to in the English language. For instance, to run, to dance, to think. Right, so that was a skim through the infinitive form in English. Now let's switch sides, shall we? And to cut a long story short, there is no infinitive form in Arabic. That is to say, there is no equivalent for the form to do something. I mean, to eat, for example, to sleep, etc. Instead, verbs take the infinitive form by using the past form of the verb conjugated with the masculine third person singular he. To make things simple, here is an example: the verb to draw. Its infinitive in Arabic is rasama, and it is also the past form of the verb, more precisely the masculine third person past form he. Which means that if we translate this sentence, for example, the boy drew a picture. Drew is the past form of to draw, obviously, and the personal pronoun is he, the boy, he. And knowing that a picture is called suratun in Arabic, we will get رسم الولد صورة. Good on you. رسم الولد صورة. So as you can see, the infinitive form is the same as what? As the past form of the verb with the personal pronoun he. Good on you. And you know what? Here comes another example just to make sure you've got it right. Here we have the verb to write, كتب. كتب is the infinitive form of the verb, and it is also its past form conjugated with the personal pronoun he, which means that the following sentence will translate as so: the teacher wrote a letter. The teacher, he, and it is nothing but المعلم. A letter is رسالة, and wrote, which is the past tense of the verb to write, has been replaced with كتب. كتب المعلم رسالة. Again, كتب المعلم رسالة. Since what? Since the infinitive form in Arabic equals he past tense. So things make perfect sense, isn't it? Right. Again, and to put it simply, the infinitive form in Arabic equals he past tense. I know that you are not familiar with verbal sentences yet, but this is what this series is leading to, and we will get there soon. So no need to worry, please. Now, here is an important thing to know. I would really appreciate if you pay extra attention. Terminology-wise, there is no term used to denominate the infinitive form in Arabic, and رسم or كتب are known as the names of the verb. These names are only used to list, please be careful here, these names are only used to list verbs and can never be used as a literal translation for the English infinitive form. What does this mean? Well, it simply means that this literal translation is erroneous. I want to drink. أريد شربة. Doesn't make sense. I want to draw. أريد رسمة. It's completely erroneous. Be careful, please. I'm just reading what is written. And what is written means that you should never ever replace the infinitive form in English to do something with the past form of the verb conjugated with he. Okay, so that was number 1. Number 2, these names, I mean رسم, كتب for example, can never ever be used as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs as we do in English. Are we agreed? Alright. And the question here is, why do we need the infinitive form in Arabic? I mean شرب, كتب, رسم, etc. What's their usage? And why the infinitive form of a verb is so important in Arabic? And the answer is, when it comes to the Arabic language, the infinitive form is used only to list verbs in the dictionary, know the root letters, know the pattern of the verb, classify the verb, know the letters of the verb. I mean its component letters. When it comes to listing verbs, it's self-explanatory. Naming verbs so that you can know each one of them and their meaning. As for 2 and 3, we've already discussed these with details in our 2 previous lessons, so feel free to check these if you didn't already. And regarding 4 and 5, these 2 points are yet to be discussed, but as a customary over, knowing the basic letters of a verb can enable us to classify it as abstract or augmented, regular or irregular. Further details will be provided at the right time. So that's all about the infinitive form, and now let's move on to al-masdar. So, what is a masdar? The word masdar literally means the source from which something originates, and the plural form of masdar is masadir. Again, masdarun, masadirun. And even though al-masdar doesn't have a specific equivalent in English, al-masadir are oftentimes referred to as verbal nouns. The reason why? Al-masadir are words that express the abstract idea of an action, something close to but not identical to the infinitive form in English or the gerund form, i.e. the ing form. In other words, something close to a verb but not a verb, thus the denomination verbal nouns. However, grammatically speaking, al-masdar is a noun that refers to an action, but importantly, it is an action that is absolute. What does this exactly mean? Well, unlike a verb, a masdar doesn't have a tense nor a subject. Namely, a masdar describes an action without giving any information about the subject nor about the time of the event, which means that al-masdar is not confined to the action that it's describing, and also, it's not confined to a specific personal pronoun. Think about it as if al-masdar is the verb minus the tense and the subject. So, in a nutshell, al-masdar is a noun that refers to an action, that action is absolute, and that action has no tense. It is not confined to the past, present, or future. For instance, one masdar that you might have encountered already is al-qira'atu, which can be translated depending on the context to reading, the idea of reading, or let's say the abstract concept of reading. Now, even though we clearly said that al-masdar is something close to but not identical to the infinitive in English or the gerund form, please let me insist on the fact that we can't always render an ing word in English to a masdar. I am shedding the light specifically upon the ing form here because that's an extremely useful piece of information that will make things easier for you. And in order to achieve that, I want you to think about the difference between these two sentences. Reading is beneficial and I'm reading a book. In this sentence, reading is a noun that refers to the abstract meaning of reading. So to translate this sentence, we will use the masdar القراءة. Thus, reading is beneficial will become القراءة مفيدة. Again, القراءة مفيدة. As simple as that. And since al-masdar is a noun, which kind of sentences is that? A nominal sentence. Good on you. Now, on the other hand, if we say I'm reading a book in Arabic, we might be tempted to use the masdar القراءة and say أنا القراءة كتاب. But that would mean that you are or I am the literal physical embodiment of the act of reading, which sounds as strange in Arabic as it is in English. So to translate the sentence, we will just use a conjugated verb. أنا أقرأ كتابا. أنا أقرأ كتابا. Are we agreed? And you know what? Here comes another example to make sure you've got it right. Compare, for instance, the sentence, the girl is running with the girl likes running. Is running refers to an action that is happening as we are speaking, a specific action that is happening, whereas running here is a general preference, not something that is confined to a particular point in time, but rather a preference, the liking of running in general. Consequently, the translation is البنت تجري and البنت تحب الجري. Again, البنت تجري البنت تحب الجري. الجري here is the masdar. It took the accusative case here to showcase its function within the sentence. However, as a standalone word, it should be الجري because it's a noun. Good on you. Right, let's move on to a side-by-side comparison between al-masdar and the infinitive form before ending the lesson with a couple of notes. Number 1, the infinitive is a verb in its non-finite form, while al-masdar is a noun. This also leads us to number 2. Since al-masdar is a noun, it can be definite or indefinite, unlike what? Unlike verbs. Now, do you remember one way to make a noun definite other than the definite article al? What is it? Al-idafa. That's right. So number 3, al-masdar can be part of an idafa construction, more precisely the first half of it, i.e. al-mudaf. Number 4, al-masdar can, not always, can take the dual or the plural form. Number 5, al-masdar can end with ta marbuta, unlike what? Unlike verbs, obviously. The second to last one is number 6. A masdar cannot be conjugated unlike the infinitive form, since al-masdar is a noun. Finally, number 7. A masdar is absolute, meaning and time-wise, whereas the infinitive form is a non-finite verb waiting for its specific time and subject. Feel free to think about it as a verb in its sleeping state. Right, I hope that explains things a little better. Now let's end this lesson with these 2 notes, starting with number 1. Most of al-masadir that you will come across as a beginner will have the pattern فعول, like دخول, خروج, etc. So do not be tempted to think that that's the only wazn, or let's say pattern, that al-masdar can take. And as we have seen today, the lesson is full of counterexamples. So just keep that in mind, you will definitely need it further along. Now, when it comes to our second note, it is more of a thorough definition, or let's say a detailed description of al-masdar. Think about it as going the extra mile. Al-masdar is called ism ma'na, something that is abstract, that has no color, no size, but that is connected to an action like writing, reading, swimming, etc. All the other nouns studied so far are called ismu that, and can be recognized with your senses. You can see, smell, taste, or hear them. For example, a river, nahrun, or a mountain, jabalun, or a chair, kursiyun. These words can't be a masdar. A masdar doesn't have a body, nor a concrete shape or form. How can you describe the word reading, for example, قراءة? You can't say it's big, blue, is it? Every masdar needs a sort of concept, let's say, that you can only grasp with your mind. Alright, that brings us to the end of today's lesson. شكرا على حسن استماعكم ومع السلامة.